oh, you know what? We can take 10,000 loads here. What's the process of finding a dump site? Obviously finding a quarry is finding a quarry, but finding a dump site that can take material. And then what's the process like between, okay, then now we got to spend 250,000, get a permit for it to be able to take it and open it up. Like, what's that timeline like? And then what's that process like?
The beautiful thing is now it's coming to us.
Nice.
The inquiry coming to us. So a lot of it's the last 4 years, we're just boots on the ground. You're knocking on doors, leaving no stone unturned relentlessly. And now it's just kind of all paying off, and which is great. Great.
And we're able to provide a load truck and dump to these developers and builders, right? So us putting an excavator on the pile and providing the trucking and the dump, it's pretty hard for people to compete with us when we've got the. So trying to provide a service and also trying to make these developers realize that maybe they're not getting a fair deal sometimes, right? And maybe that they've been getting hosed for many years. And there is ways for us to help these developers save money. So we're getting really trusted in that way. Now these building pads, in the past, people were charging for hourly for the machine to sit there, hourly for a roller to be on site. And, plus these people are making an income from dump loads coming in, right? So, we allow as long as it's a certain amount of loads we can get in a day, we'll provide the dozer and the packer at no charge because we are making a cost. We are making money from the loads coming in, and we're straight up and honest with all these developers on that. And also other large construction companies. So they're actually calling us to actually remove their loads or vice versa, do a place and pack if it's an infill. So it's just kind of working with what we got and adapting and trying to be innovative as well too.
So land's really important, but it's really sounding like relationships is even probably the most important.
It's relationships. And again, to own the land, that's a big cost, right? So if other people own the land and you can share the wealth and not be greedy and everyone, I think that's a really good way of doing business rather than thinking you need to, be the king of the castle. I don't need to be the king, but we can follow the king around.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Con Expo Con A podcast. As always, I'm your host, Taylor White. The podcast is brought to you by our good friends over at Komatsu. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. With me today, I have two guys, actually, Double J, James and Joey. I actually had an intro for Joey, but it probably relates both of them. So it's the guys that essentially move dirt like it's their day job. But I would highly think that this is their day job. And that's why I'm excited to talk with you guys today. So Joey and James, thanks for being on here today.
Thanks for having us, Taylor.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So Joey, obviously, me and your relationship, we've been talking for quite a while. You're not too far from here. You're about 4 hours south of Ottawa here. And James, I'm assuming you're from kind of the same area. And thinking about obviously with the podcast and people that we want to have on, I always wanted to have a chat with you because I find it really interesting, especially with the changing regulations here in Ontario regarding excess soils. We don't need to get heavy into regulations and all that stuff because this audience is, all over, but I think they would be interested to hear just how, kind of different and I guess complicated our regulations for moving dirt is. But you guys want to give a brief kind of explanation of, hey, this is what we do and this is why we are here.
Yeah. So we specialize in bulk excavation, site operation permits, pit and quarry rehabilitations, and engineered building pads. So we have great synergy between our excavation and grading division and our soil management division. And in addition to that, there's a landscaping division. So it's it's a full package for the developer.
You guys would be best at prefixing okay, so soil cycle, you guys are, management of dirt. Now, why is that a need in where you guys are? Was that a business before these regulations come in? And maybe give a brief description of the regulations in Ontario.
Yeah. So prior, so how we kind of met is James had his own dump truck. He was an owner operator. I was doing a big job at the airport there, moving a ton of dirt. James was first guy on site, last guy to leave every day, shoveled his box out of his dump truck. I seen something in him. I'd be loading them and he'd be reading self-taught books and, books that'll, improve his day-to-day skills. And, so he came to me, he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about, having a business moving dirt?" I said, "Well, we already are doing it, not to a crazy scale, but, every excavation company in a way is in the same boat." Um, so we gave it a shot. We had a site that came up and, we did well on our first one and, we started to see something come from it. So, right there, James was, giving me the Cole's notes on all these books he was reading, telling me what we should be doing, how we should be doing it. And, I just believed in him and we went for it. And, last year we moved close to 80,000 loads of dirt. So between brokering, having our own dumps or providing a load truck and dump. So we were very efficient. We've got 2 quarries now that we have the rights to fill. So we've been using those as our winter and wet days, and we do a lot of building pads, looking after any load truck and dump to these building pads, and then doing a place and pack as well. So kind of providing a one-stop shop for a lot of the developers in our area. But yeah, so I mean, prior to the regulations, I think there was a lot of we call dirt bandits. So I mean, they would be knocking on farmers' doors saying, "Hey, we got material. Would you like to fill your field?" The farmer says, "Absolutely," not knowing what's in the characteristics of the soil. Accepting these loads that are most of the times contaminated or not suitable for these sites. So we're trying to make an awareness to these farmers and make it show them that, hey guys, you can't just take any dirt. And, unfortunately, it wasn't the excavation side's problem. It was the farmer who accepted the dirt who had to deal with it. So these dirt bandits would come in and they'd fill this guy's place up. They'd have the city show up. Now all that dirt was contaminated, have to be remediated. Some farmers would lose their farms because they couldn't afford to get rid of it. So yeah, it was just a total disaster. So, we spent the first 3 years of soil cycle. We walked away from a lot of people that didn't want to do permits and they didn't want to do it properly. And we've seen people making money on these sites that we could have, but we didn't want to have that name of, not doing things properly. So we spent, a couple $100,000 the first year just on working on permits. And finally the permits started to come in. And, now we're rolling. We're thinking about multiple years down the road on permitting, not just, tomorrow. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a gist of so far.
That's awesome. You did a great recap there. So essentially, the regulations in Ontario, right, are like, hey, if you're hauling off anything more than X amount of cube, or it's in an urban area, you need to get rid of that proper site that can take that kind of that table of material, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the challenge, is because, a pool job that has 8 to 10 loads is not getting, soil analysis on it. So what do? So they have to find another backfill or some small job to take it to. And although they're under that threshold for testing, our sites are required to take the testing. So there are major challenges with the regulations right now. And what's going to take change is unity across the board with all of the governing bodies. I mean, there's no correspondence between them. But most importantly, us, the community, the guys on the front lines, need to start voicing our concerns and being a part of these amendments, instead of these groups of people who aren't on the front lines putting together these amendments and then a year or two later changing them because they don't work.
I think it's just like people need education, right? People need to be educated on it. Like Joey was saying, it was a good point. You get these dirt bandits that are going and filling the farmers. Yeah, that's great, dirt bandits, but it's the receivers, and they're the ones that are getting screwed. And although the farmer's getting a low-lying area filled in, or he's building up an area that he needed, 1,000 loads in, oh, perfect, I got it for nothing. It's, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road when somebody comes down, it's like, hey, where did all that material come from? All right, we're going to go in and test that. Oh, now you got to get rid of 1,000 loads of material at your expense, or a fine or a penalty or whatever, because there's that sort of stuff still goes on. Although it's regulated, there is still dirt bandits bombing around, dumping loads there.
Well, a lot of the problem is too. So these farmers are filling these areas with contaminated dirt, and then they're farming. So we're technically eating this contaminated soil, vegetables, crops, whatever you have be. So the awareness of just the dirt going in there is just a minor problem. Like it affects everybody. Anyone that buys stuff at the local grocery store is eating this, from the soils, right? So,
Absolutely. And another challenge is the municipalities and the bylaws make it impossible for these farmers to afford a site alteration permit. But every farmer needs soil. So they're going to go to the black market. And that's what we're trying to get across to these municipalities is like, guys, like you need to make it accessible for farmers to do this financially. And right now it's ridiculous. So they go to Facebook. The farmers will go to Facebook, get hooked up with Bob, Dick, and Harry, and then next thing you know, we get the call to remediate it. But again, it all comes down to the guys sitting at the top that are refusing to listen to the guys on the front lines.
and the capital that's needed for these permits. I mean, at my farm, I got a permit for 10,000 loads to bring in, and I was over 100 G's for this permit. Well, most people can't afford to spend 100 G's on a permit without no income coming in, right? So we've our game plan or our way of doing things is we go to these farmers, and as long as they need over a threshold of loads, we will pay for the permit. So we'll provide all the testing needed, all the geo testing, everything needed to get these permits. So basically we go out on a limbs paying for these permits, and then we are recuperated once the loads are coming in. So, I mean, it's not something that we're making quick money on. We're spending a ton of money to get these permits. And then, we're not, by the time we've got our money from filling this site, I mean, we're already thinking five other permits down the road, right? So like the money is just like continuously going towards permits. So
your business model then, I mean, it's a super interesting business. Essentially, you guys, are strongly capitalizing on the new regulations of excess soil. Right? Like that's what you guys are doing.
At first, when those regulations came out, everyone was complaining, oh, this is baloney, whatever. We saw an opportunity. We thought, well, you know what? We're going to work with this. We're going to make it work. What can we do? Okay, we're going to try to show that maybe this doesn't work the way that they're showing. Like we're really trying to help the communities. We're really, we want that name of, they see our name come across the board for a permit. They know things are going to be done properly. So,
and the unfortunate part is the industry is blacklisted. Like we're not bad people, but we are painted in that same picture. Unfortunately, because the media just smears any sort of fill management or any sort of soil management. Sorry. And so it makes it impossible for the neighbors to welcome us in anywhere we go. But at the end of the day, we are regulating the speed on our street. We are tracking our loads. We are doing everything we're supposed to be doing. But unfortunately, we're still painted in the picture.
And I think too, like the amount of building that's going on. So we got, how much construction going on, and, they never ask where these loads are going. So you can put a conduit and developer, you think the municipalities would be saying, hey, where are these 5,000 loads going? And where does the site, it's not like that because the fill sites fill up so fast. So if you're quoting on a job or, you're trying to put numbers together for a project that's going to happen 3 months down the road, who knows where the dump site's going to be at that time, right? So there's so many things that are making it really difficult. I mean, we're working our way through it as well too, but
I'll give you an example of one of the amendments. I'm not going to give up the city because I got to get but they've made it so this new amendment, they want an engineer on site at all times. Well, our engineer straight up told us that's not financially feasible. It's financially feasible for Ellis Don, companies like that, but not for your mom and pop farmers.
Not at all. So you guys have you have multiple different dump sites. So essentially people are paying you guys charge per ton whenever they're dumping, or per load?
Per load. So our numbers, depending on permit costs and amount of loads going in there, we figure out what a load cost would be to dump a load. When they dump a load, we have a bulldozer on site that pushes it. We've got a guy sitting there tracking. We are partners in the Fill app. So,
Nice.
the new Fill app that's out. So, I mean, we run the Fill app, for all of our sites. There, there's a lot coming from it. We're just chipping our way through.
How many I mean, and again, like it's like asking a farmer how many acres and stuff. So tell me when to shut up. But how many sites do you guys have? Like, because as you guys, and this is probably a next question is, then you guys are filling in quarries, and you said now we have quarries and we're filling in quarries. So how many sites do you have? And is there multiple levels of what kind of class table of soil you're allowed to take at each site? Like, could you take like soil with fuel in it at one, but then only table 2 topsoil at another?
Yeah. So all of our sites have parameters that what we're allowed to bring in. Our one quarry, we are not putting any clean fill in at the moment because we're working on trying to get a contam fill, permit for this site. So we'll be doing a diked area, and we'll be treating on site, and then that treated material will go right into the pit.
Explain that, what you just said. Is that machine that you put dirt into and it cleans it?
No, the washing plant. No, we haven't got there yet,
Okay.
but that is something.
Those are
we would like-
expensive.
Yeah. I think they're about 12. The one we like is about 12 million.
That's it. Oh,
So you can see like the money that's needed just to fund a business like this, to do it properly. A lot of these bigger companies aren't even playing by the rules either. They have these transfer stations, the dirt's going in the front door, right out the back. Nothing's getting treated, but that's not monitored, right? Like, I mean, so like there's so many things that just aren't quite fair. We stay in our lane, they stay in theirs. We're going to do things our way and do it right. We're not here to tattletale on people, but it gets frustrating sometimes. And, we've got 2 quarries going. We got 10 dump sites probably going.
wow.
But again, it's all timing on some of them, right? Like some of them right now, we can't fire up. We don't have the material because like in Hamilton, you're only allowed to accept Hamilton material. So you have a farm in Hamilton, you need table 1 material. There's not much table 1 material in Hamilton. So they're not even allowing material coming in from other jurisdictions. So, some of the sites have permits and we're waiting, but we don't have the material to fill them. So it's just a constant, shuffle to make things
But
work.
having that many sites is what is able to keep us, if you only have one, you're in trouble. Unless you're taking everything under the sun, which there's a lot of guys that do that. And it's like turning a faucet on for them. But when you're running a legitimate show, there's usually some time in between your stockpiles.
That's what makes you guys like the guy. It's like, oh, well, we got this material here and we're up working in, wherever. Oh, call Soil Cycle. I'm sure they got a spot up here. Like, you guys essentially want to be those guys that are like, oh, call us. I'm sure we have a spot in the area that can take whatever material that you're looking.
Taylor, the funniest thing about that is I got great buddies in the industry and they'll call me saying, hey, I've got 10 loads I need to get rid of. It is so hard to tell your friend, I can't take your material, even though you want to, right? Like, so like those uncomfortable phone calls happen more often than not, when you're trying to help people. So, I mean, unfortunately, those people still have the bandit's number in their phone book because they need to use them on day to day to keep their operations going. Right. So like,
and to be honest, we've tried to share resources with other fill management guys. I don't like the word dump guys, but that's the terminology. And I don't equate us to your typical dump guy, whatever you want to call it. So like when we get the calls, they thinking that we can just call Bob, Dick, and Harry out there, but we don't have those relationships because your values and principles don't match up with us. Doesn't matter how much money's on the table. We're not making that move, right?
Well, and when your business is based off what you guys are doing, I'm so heavy regulated, and I'm sure there's someone watching you guys. And if you slip up or do one thing that's like, all right, yeah, we'll put 5 loads of this in there, and then that's the day that someone shows up, you get caught. Your entire business model, your entire business is totally ruined.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because we have those jealous people running around and following us and we're getting the phone calls and the same, bylaw guy showing up and, hey, come on in, right? Come check out what's going on. I guess the same guy called you, right? Like, people are out to get you as well too. If, lots of people quote on the same pile, right? So, closest dump usually wins, but we're trying to make it that we're the guys that people would rather drive that extra 10 kilometers for us to, in order for us to be.
The old saying, when people start smearing your name and stuff like that, you're doing something correctly. It means you're ruffling feathers and you're disrupting the industry. So
I know all about that. That's
Yeah.
all good. So major part of your business then is, owning land, finding land that can take it. So how do you guys find land that is like, oh, you know what? We can take 10,000 loads here. What's the process of finding a dump site? Obviously finding a quarry is finding a quarry, but finding a dump site that can take material. And then what's the process like between, okay, then now we got to spend 250,000, get a permit for it to be able to take it and open it up. Like, what's that timeline like? And then what's that process like?
The beautiful thing is now it's coming to us.
Nice.
The inquiry coming to us. So a lot of it's the last 4 years, we're just boots on the ground, you're knocking on doors, leaving no stone unturned relentlessly. And now it's just kind of all paying off, and which is great. Great.
And we're able to provide a load truck and dump to these developers and builders, right? So us putting an excavator on the pile and providing the trucking and the dump, it's pretty hard for people to compete with us when we've got the. So trying to provide a service and also trying to make these developers realize that maybe they're not getting a fair deal sometimes, right? And maybe that they've been getting hosed for many years. And there is ways for us to help these developers save money. So we're getting really trusted in that way. Now these building pads, in the past, people were charging for hourly for the machine to sit there, hourly for a roller to be on site. And, plus these people are making an income from dump loads coming in, right? So, we allow as long as it's a certain amount of loads we can get in a day, we'll provide the dozer and the packer at no charge because we are making a cost. We are making money from the loads coming in, and we're straight up and honest with all these developers on that. And also other large construction companies. So they're actually calling us to actually remove their loads or vice versa, do a place and pack if it's an infill. So it's just kind of working with what we got and adapting and trying to be innovative as well too.
So land's really important, but it's really sounding like relationships is even probably the most important.
It's relationships. And again, to own the land, that's a big cost, right? So if other people own the land and you can share the wealth and not be greedy and everyone, I think that's a really good way of doing business rather than thinking you need to, be the king of the castle. I don't need to be the king, but we can follow the king around kind of thing, right? So
100%. I like that. What I'm interested about the quarries, because, for anybody, everybody knows what a quarry is. I mean, you blast, you crush, you sell rock, big hole in the ground. And what they're doing here in Ontario or in probably areas as well too is this new regulation is people are finding old quarries that can be rehabbed or reclaimed or whatever the right word is, and basically fill them in with essentially, hopefully, whatever you'll be allowed to fill in with contaminant material or excess soil or whatever it may be. So is that kind of like something where you guys are like obviously the bigger money, the bigger ticket items for you guys would be in the most contaminated type of material, correct?
not so much because we're so limited on where it can go.
But if you get a site that, like, if you have a quarry and they're like, you can take literally anything from one to anything in this hole, would you not be like, nice?
Yes, but
life changer.
for the most part, those contam fill permits are a special permit.
Okay.
So that takes a couple years to get. It's not like it happens overnight. The rehabs that these quarries are providing, the M&R is providing now, unfortunately, it's not to fill it back up to native ground. It's to fix the slopes. So a rehab on a quarry.
Oh, interesting.
They aren't what they should be. So we were at the Sand and Gravel OSCA conference, and we're trying to make it an awareness of the guys like these. We can make this farmable land. We can make this reusable. You guys making these basically pits or like these big these big holes is not really helping anything because we've got all this material that's got to come out of the city. That this is the only suitable spot to bring it, and you're not letting us actually do it properly. So we're hoping that the M&R is going to start to realize what these pits are. And they are.
Things are changing. Their mindset's changing on bringing the back to the original purpose and grade. So that's perfect because I say this all the time. We lose 319 acres of farmland to development every single day. Simple mathematics, where our grandchildren are not going to have food supplied from Canada at this rate. So any opportunity to rehabilitate any sort of acreage and give back to the agriculture is huge in my opinion. And that's where we all should work together.
That's really
even
smart.
these having affordable houses. housing right now is crazy and people are having a hard time buying houses. So creating like a trailer house park, something that doesn't, that we can be engineered pads on top of that. So it's not like the compaction's needed. Like there's a lot of options that you can do with these quarries to make it usable and make everyone aware of what's going on as well, right? So
Yeah, you guys are really thinking outside the box. Like you guys are thinking like, okay, this is what we're doing, but then also like, how can we fill it in, but then make that what we're filling in actually purposeful? And here's where the flaw is. And that I think that that's super impressive the way you guys are thinking. I mean, it's like literally next level. But whenever I pictured it, that's actually interesting. I just learned something. I thought that like, like for instance, big company around here, they just got, an old quarry. I pictured that you could just dump it and they were filling it back into native, but they're saying, hey, you're at a 90-degree, whatever, turn that into a 3-to-1. And then that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird though. What, because isn't there still just a hole at the center then?
yeah. So they want to create them to parks. I mean, how many parks do we need? I mean,
Prairies, parks, like there's various things they like to do, but at the end of the day, the mathematics tell us what we need to be doing. And that's agricultural farmland. End of story.
Yeah, 100%. So if you guys are trying to get into this, so are you guys actively trying to work with regulators and the MNR to be like, hey, let's.
We try to get they're tough to get a hold of, right? And like
They don't want to talk.
They don't want to talk. I mean, you know what I mean? They're not, they're not eager beavers like we are. I mean, they're just doing their 9-to-5 job and they're not looking to change anything. And so it's been tough, right? So,
I'll give you an example of the ignorance. I won't give away the governing agency. But we had this pit in Halton Hills we were going to fill. We went through all the necessary channels. It took probably a year for me to get through this. I finally had Heritage. I had like every governing agent you can think of on this property out with me for a walk. And their proposal was, we won't let you fill this in with fill, but we'll let you do it topsoil. We'll think about it if it's just topsoil. And I'm thinking this is 30, 40 feet of topsoil. Like we can't.
like just no logic to it, right?
That doesn't
So
make
that's
sense.
the level of ignorance we're dealing with at the highest levels. And I would love to get in front of anybody that can kind of be a voice of change, but we can't get, nobody wants to go on the record. It's too new.
It is still new. And I still feel like I'm going to talk, go reset my camera. I feel like it is new, but I also, again, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I feel like people need to be educated on, like, I'm still dumb. Like I'm still learning and trying to actively better my knowledge of excess soils and where it can happen and what cannot. I mean, but like you guys probably spend countless times actually just like, this is your business. This is what you guys do. Right? Do you feel like a lot of people are uneducated on it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How do we solve that then? How do we fix that? Like, that's my point. Is like, I'm uneducated on it. I feel like we need more of that.
We haven't gone to any reporters, or we haven't done that yet. But like, I feel like
I want to.
That's going to be
a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Throw them under the bus. I still got to get these permits, right? So it's but when we are saying, guys, we have I'm hoping we get a meeting with one of the cities. Again, I'm not going to throw that city under the bus, but we're hoping that we can get in front of the council and at least say, hey, listen, here's the new amendments. They're not going to work. Here's why they're not going to work. Let's work together to.
Yeah.
Now, is it guys just like, like other contractors, construction guys like me, or is it actually as well like people in higher positions that are very uneducated as well that you're trying to get to and be like, hey, like guys, this doesn't make sense. Sloping a pit like there, it kind of sounds like they need education as well.
A guy like you or us, the guys that have their feet on the ground, all see an issue with it. Some guys aren't, innovative, and they're not thinking about how to change or what needs to be done. They're just going with the flow, doing what they're told. But yeah, if people aren't doing this or working like what we are doing every day, I think it's a tough thing for them to be able to make a rule about, a board or some way of, having multiple people like us sit on a board and say, hey guys, this is what we're dealing with. This is how we think we can solve it. What can we do to move forward? It's just, and any amendment takes year or months or whatever to change. It's not like stuff gets done overnight, right? So, yeah.
And at the end of the day, soil it's moving every single day. So it's got to go somewhere.
Well, it's only going to continue to get more and more, right? More and more apparent for everybody. This is here. It's not going anywhere, right? And I think that that's the main kind of takeaway. So what does your guys' growth look like? Like, what does soil cycles growth look like from here? Like, I mean, you guys obviously have had fantastic, you mentioned, because how long has soil cycle been around? 4 years, 5 years?
So fourth year.
Fourth year. So I mean, from where you guys started to where you are now, and then what are you guys looking at? Is it capacity? Is it sites? Is it more iron? Like, what does the growth look like for a business like yours? Being able to handle more?
We want to keep our profit margins high.
Yes, amen.
I mean, at the end of the day, the way we look at it is if we can develop lands for other organizations, then there's no reason why we can't for ourselves. So, I mean, the big picture would be owning our own land and hiring our own companies to come in and we have the synergy to do it between all the divisions. So,
and I think we all know to construct, like the construction portion of a job, of a development is the largest cost, right? So, if we can go in there and get it to a certain point and then sell the land, I mean, I think there's a huge benefit to that, as well too, right? So our long-term, goal would be getting into development. So we're trying to be smart with the money we are making and make the right moves at the beginning, because every move seems to be a crucial move, right? So, that's kind of our long-term goal, to see. I mean, yes, we want to have a transfer station as well. We want to have our spots that we want to have a well-oiled machine, a great playbook that, we can share and try to help with people as well too.
Yeah, I feel like a perception, like let's say I'm taking out material and I got to take it to our local dump site here, right? I mean, I'm going, dang, those guys are making serious bank. Like, look at how much it was per load and how much money. But like the more it's almost like you guys, it's a super capital intensive business. I mean, you guys need working with super expensive permits. You need super expensive iron on site to move it. You have people, you have QC, you have engineers, you have your apps that you're running. I mean, there's a lot going on there. So you guys were talking about like money management and stuff. Like, as far as, maybe a younger guy watching this or younger girl or just somebody, like, is this a business where you'd be like, yeah, this is something good. I would recommend people to get into this. I mean, take a bias out of it of maybe, hey, let us, have it all. But what's the business model like? Is it good?
To be honest with you, it's a tough business. I mean, when you got 250 trucks rolling into a job site, the stress levels are high. I mean, this isn't for everybody. You got workers that aren't knowledgeable on how to drive, or they don't have any, so they can make a site, we try to have, what do we have? Like 8 minutes on and off site. So that's kind of our guarantee. We do 2-lane roads in. So we're really trying to make, our sites where people want to go, because everyone's gone to a dump site where it's rutted out. You're getting there, it's soaking wet. You can't dump. So to run it right, it costs money. So that's the tough thing, right? And being efficient. So if we're doing a load, truck, and dump, I mean, you want the biggest bucket going in the back of a dump truck as quick as you can. You want the biggest dozer blowing through a load so you can have multiple loads. You can't have a small machine. Like, it's all very, the overhead's huge.
I'll tell you what, I had hair and I had no grit 4 years ago. Okay. So this was an unregulated business for so long that you've got your characters in here that are tough. And you got to be able to handle and manage those types of people being tough yourself. So if it's not for everyone, you're sure come across somebody at some point that has ill intentions and is going to test you. And if you're not, I don't have a backbone to stand up to that, then this isn't the industry for you.
Yeah. Joey, I do want to touch on, I know that, I just through social media and stuff too. And obviously, James as well too. You guys do a really good job at, making content for social media, around business and everything too. Is that something that you guys have found helps, or, as far as client end, employee end, or?
Well, I don't know if you remember our conversation. I don't know how long ago we chatted, about you having your videographer working for you. And you know what? You blew me away with how you run your social media, the videos you post. how you go about posting them. So I kind of took a little chip out of your card there, and we hired a guy. We went to Sheridan College, and they have a videography program, and we hired a student in, and the student's been amazing, and he's been bringing his student friends. So we're trying to make it a little business for this guy, actually going around and shooting videos and doing stuff for other businesses to try to get their social media and get people watching and get awareness going. And you know what? I got to say, a lot of that came from just how you've been running and what you've been doing.
No,
But I
appreciate
mean,
it.
Yeah.
what's great is like we kind of took a different step to this. I was watching everybody how they market their stuff. It's, market their site, what they need. They, text what they need and stuff. I'm like, there's nobody putting a face to this. So I said, okay, I'm going to put my face out there. This is who I am. This is
Nice.
what
I like that. That's smart.
and in the industry that's in the dark, I thought that that's a good tactic to, bring everybody's guard down. You know who I am. You know what we're about, values, principles, the whole 9 yards. And it worked. It really did. And I know the old guard doesn't really, see the value in that. But social media is the equalizer, and it's certainly doing a great job at bringing us to where we
Well,
need to
what
be.
I like is that you guys actually get it, right? Because there's people that do social media and don't get it, and there's people that do social media and get it. And you guys get it. And that's what I really appreciate. Is like you're putting your face out there, you're showing your machinery, you're making interesting real content. Because at the end of the day, it's like, how cool can we make, dumping loads of dirt look? But and I struggle with that. That's what we do too. Like, I mean, we're putting septics in the ground, or we're digging a basement, or we're doing this. Can we make this look cool? Right? It's like it's showing the machinery, showing the people, showing what we do. And it's just not an easy task to do. So, making an investment of being like, hey, let's get somebody in here to make content full time. It's a big investment, but it's really important. And I think it makes a big impact in today's world.
And you know what? I think posting stuff maybe sometimes too that people can learn from. Not every time, but if you can share a bit of information to someone that they can take from it, that's great too. Just there's it's kind of fun too. I mean, it's our videographer guy has fun with it, and he's one of those guys where I can just send there. I don't have to tell him how to shoot, what to shoot. He just gets it. He'll take nitbits through the project and then put one lump sum together at the end. And so yeah, it's been interesting. And
No, I love that. So are you guys going to try to, I mean, soil cycle you guys had, because I know Joey that you also, maybe it's family business, or I'm not sure what the relationship is, but Contour Landscape.
yeah, so my that's family business. So that's me and my dad with that. So my dad had a landscape company when I was growing up. Very successful. He had like 56 sites, plowed snow, cut grass, did all the maintenance, had a construction crew, did a little bit of tree work. And you know what? I was lucky. My parents trusted in me, and I was able to evolve, and we've adapted into excavation. That was more where my interest was. So when I was 20, my dad had sold off the landscaping portion, and he still works every day as well, and he's happy to be there. And I think we're pulling the 30-year-old guy on my dad. I mean, I can see the fun he's having with this as well too.
And he's a big, huge part of what we do. He's in the background a lot, so
That's awesome.
Yeah.
he's a big piece of our puzzle, and we appreciate him so much.
He's the guy who went to school for honors physics. So his numbers are pretty calculated when it comes to numbers too, right? So I've been fortunate enough to learn that. And yeah, so I mean, we've got lots of people helping, and my sister just joined on with us. And
He's the
yeah, my sister's working in our office now, and she's got her master's, and she's very sharp as well too, and really helping us with a business plan, and getting an alignment done with all our team. And we're really we're running the management style of EOS. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. So there's EOS is a way to manage your business and keeps people accountable. So we have a 90-minute meeting every week, and go over what needs to be done. And we're really trying to get the right tools on our side, and doing the best we can.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that's us as well too. I feel like we say we have it figured out, or we're trying to figure it out, and then something else happens, and whatever you're constantly putting out fires or figuring internally in office. But James, it was actually interesting hearing Joey talk about you. You said you were like an owner operator dump truck driver.
Yeah.
and
That's
now
why.
you're here. Like that's pretty incredible, dude.
Well, I knew the dump truck was just going to be a stepping stone into, to be honest, I didn't know what at the time. But when I started moving dirt, I'm like, okay, there's something in this. I
That's
see it.
super cool.
And so it took me about a year or two to put together the pieces of all the pieces of the puzzle, including the partnerships.
You presented your business plan to other people that shut them down. Multiple people had shut them down, right?
Look at me now.
And you know what the thing is, man? I'm not greedy for money. I've never been greedy for money. Money comes to people who work hard and they care and they do what they're going to say they're going to do. So to me, money wasn't an issue. It was like, what do we got to do to get this done? And, you know, James is the best partner I could have for the soil business. He didn't, you know, he learned how to read a soil report, you know, in like 3 months, whereas most people have to send it to an engineer. So we can scan through these soil reports, not wasting anyone's time, sending it off to other engineers to accept it. We know it's going to be accepted before it's sent out. So like a lot of things like that, right? So,
and I strategically, he was mentioning how I was reading my book and, I'm getting loaded by him. I strategically placed, that book in my hand at that. So he'd see it, right? And
what was the book? Show him.
here it is right here. The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Nice.
And, so I just knew I needed to attract him somehow. I'm like, this guy's got it going on. He's young. He's what's going on. I'm like, I think he's a good piece to this puzzle. So I reeled him in and things are great because where I'm weak, he's strong and vice versa.
Yeah, you need that. You need that synergy. Like for us, I always feed off. Like I'm a lot like outward facing, big idea. Here it is. This is where we got to go. This is what we got to do. And then having people in the office be like, okay, great. Let's build on that, but let's actually figure out how we can do that on a realistic level.
Yeah. And then we got the OG, his dad, to kind of reel us in if we,
Yeah. He's looking at the numbers in the books going, okay, sure.
I mean, we all know cash flow is a thing, right? Like, I mean, when you go out on a limb to do your building, you go out on a limb to paint your machines, you go out on all that. That costs money that, is not money that's really making you money. I mean, you need it, but
you're taking profit.
Yeah. So where do you put the time and their money? And, you still got a life to live. You have a family. You want to maybe do something at home, but that's slacking because you're doing stuff at work and right. So there's a constant juggle on what's the right decision, right? So having multiple people to bounce things off of and having the open mindset of what your idea is might not work, but it could bring something to the table that's great for you too, right? So,
yeah. If I had everybody on our team with my mindset, I'm pretty sure I'd be living in a cardboard box right now. So I need everybody to reel me back in, what you guys are saying is super important. But listen, I know you have a lot going on, and I really appreciate you guys coming on today. I feel like there's so much to unpack. I feel like people need to get educated. I feel like you guys capitalize on something that is super great. And I feel like you still are capitalizing on that. And I'm so pumped to see your guys' success and to see where you are now. And maybe hopefully there's something in Ottawa we can work on together as well too. Come up this way because you guys are two good dudes that I think are going to be going to be going places.
Well, I would love to touch base on our Fill app with our partners another time if you want to have another sit down. But that's a pretty interesting app we got building. It's going to be we want it to be basically the marketplace for the construction industry. So like a GG of the construction world. Bidding tenders can go through there. There'll be qualified tractors. There'll be equipment sales. There'll be the load tracking is already a big part of it. We are offering free load tracking on there currently.
Wow.
Basically like your Google Maps, and it shows where all the sites are. If you guys don't have it, I suggest you maybe download the app and take a look at it and browse around and tell us what you think. But
awesome.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense for your business to have as well. Listen, James, Joey, I really appreciate you guys coming on today, man. Seriously, awesome chat. Love talking about this sort of stuff. Just literally 45 minutes of dirt, which is that gets me going on a Wednesday morning. I don't know about you guys, but appreciate you guys coming on today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Taylor. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for listening to this Con Expo Con A podcast brought to you by our good friends over Acumen. Take care.